Welcome back to Doomed Departures. The radio call came in at 7:14 on a June evening from a seasonal ranger parked at a pullout in Lamar Valley. His voice was flat in the way voices get when the thing happening in front of you is so far outside the rules that you run out of tone for it. He said there was a woman in pink standing inside the bison herd, not near it, inside it. And then he said the sentence I still hear on bad nights. He said, "She is reaching out to pet the bull." By the time I got my truck turned around, 31 seconds had passed. That was 29 seconds more than she needed. Before I take you into that valley, I owe you a few honest words about what this is. This is a dramatization. It is a composite, built from the documented pattern of wildlife injuries that rangers in Yellowstone watch repeat every single summer, with invented people standing in for the very real ones who keep making the same choices. The park is real, the animals are real, the distances, the warnings, and the mistakes are all real. Only the names are not. I am a ranger. I have worked the roads between Mammoth Hot Springs and the Lamar Valley for a long time, and I can tell you that the most dangerous animal in Yellowstone is not the grizzly bear. It never has been. So let me tell you about a woman I will call Pam, a 2,000-pound bull bison, and the 3 days it took for one to teach the other what wild means. Pam arrived through the Roosevelt Arch on the Friday before Memorial Day in a rented 32-foot RV, with her husband Gary at the wheel and a phone already out of her pocket. You have met Pam or someone built along her lines. Late 50s, sunglasses pushed up into her hair, a closet full of neon athletic wear that had never met a trail, and a laugh you could hear across a parking lot. She was not a bad person. I want to be fair about that because this channel is not about bad people. It is about confident people, and confidence is a much more efficient killer. Gary drove. Pam narrated. She narrated the elk on the lawn at Mammoth. She narrated the price of the Huckleberry ice cream. And when traffic stopped dead on the Grand Loop Road that first afternoon, she narrated the reason out her window to 400 followers on a live stream. A bison jam. 40 animals crossing the asphalt at their own speed, calves the color of rust trotting to keep up, and a line of cars waiting the way you wait for a train. Everyone in that line did the normal thing, which is to hang a phone out the window and be late to dinner. Pam did not do the normal thing. Pam opened the door. I want to freeze her right there, one sneaker on the running board, because this is the exact moment the National Park Service spends millions of dollars and 100 years of signage trying to prevent. The rule in Yellowstone is 25 yards from bison and elk, 100 yards from bears and wolves. 25 yards is not a suggestion we came up with to make your photos worse. It is a measured answer to a simple question, which is how much room a 2,000-pound animal needs before it decides you are a problem. A bull bison stands 6 feet at the shoulder. He can turn like a cutting horse. He can jump a fence you could not climb in a hurry, and he can go from grazing to 35 miles an hour in about the time it takes you to say the words, "He seems friendly." The fastest human being who has ever lived tops out around 27. You do not have a category for how fast that is up close. Nothing in a suburb prepares you for it because everything big in a suburb is either a machine with brakes or a cow with a fence. And that is precisely how Pam read them. Big, hairy cows. She said those words to the seasonal ranger who reached her 30 feet from the herd, and she said them kindly, the way you correct a nervous child. He gave her the whole speech, the 25 yards, the calves in the group, the fact that bison injure more visitors in this park than any other animal, bears included. She listened with her head tilted, took 2 steps back to be polite, and then, while he walked to the next car, she raised her phone and took 11 more steps forward to get a calf in frame. The herd let her do it. That is the cruel part of this story, and I need you to sit with it. The animal that kills you in Yellowstone almost always lets you get away with it first. The herd shifted, a cow put her body between Pam and the calf, and the live stream chat filled with hearts. That night in the campground, she watched the numbers climb. 40,000 views, then 90. Strangers in her comments calling her fearless, calling her a nature whisperer, asking where this magical place was. Gary said something careful over the camp stove, something in the shape of maybe "don't do that again," and Pam laughed the laugh you already know. It's a national park, Gary. They wouldn't let the animals roam around if they were actually dangerous. I have thought about that sentence for years. Somewhere in the design of every safe thing we built, the parking lots and the boardwalks and the little brown signs, we accidentally taught people that danger with a gift shop is not danger anymore. The park had 3 more days of her vacation left, and the numbers only went one direction. Day 2 was the day of the citation. She found a lone bull on the boardwalk loop near Old Faithful, a big old animal doing what old bulls do in early summer, which is stand apart from the herd and conserve everything. Bulls like him have one warning system that costs nothing to read: the tail. A bison's tail hangs low when the world is fine. When it kinks up like a question mark, something is about to happen, and the something has already been decided. Pam did not know about the tail, because the tail is on the sign she walked past to get the shot, the one where she stood off the boardwalk, arm extended, toward 2,000 pounds of him, grinning back at her phone from maybe 12 feet. A visitor from Germany filmed the whole thing while begging her in 2 languages to stop. That video is why my colleague was able to find her, cite her, and walk her back to the parking lot while she told him, loudly, for the benefit of every stranger in earshot, that the animal was friendly. He's friendly. He likes me. You saw him looking at me. Here is what I would give a month's pay to make every visitor understand. He was looking at her because bison are prey animals with eyes on the sides of their heads and 800,000 years of practice tracking exactly the kind of predator that walks straight at you, slow, staring, the way a wolf does, the way a woman holding a phone does. What Pam read as curiosity was a threat assessment. She got back to the RV with a $100 ticket and a story about a power-tripping ranger, posted the German man's video herself with a laughing caption, and by midnight, it had done bigger numbers than anything she had ever put on the internet. The citation did not slow her down. The citation became content. We wrote her name in a logbook, and the algorithm wrote it in lights, and I will let you guess which one she believed. I want to show you the night in between, because the night in between is where these stories are actually decided. Picture the campground at Bridge Bay after dark, lanterns, wood smoke, 1,000 people sleeping 50 feet apart in perfect safety, and Pam in a folding chair with her face lit blue, refreshing. The video of her reaching toward that bull had crossed 2 million views by 10 o'clock. Read the comments on a video like that sometime, because they come in exactly 3 flavors, and all 3 of them are gasoline. A third of the people called her an idiot, and outrage is engagement. A third called her brave, a free spirit, so jealous, and flattery is engagement. And a third asked the question that platforms are built on, which is, where is this? I want to do this too. Her phone did what phones do with a signal that strong. By midnight, it was feeding her a whole education in the genre. A man in Alberta hand-feeding an elk, a woman at a drive-through safari with a giraffe's head inside her minivan, a guy in a cowboy hat scratching a bison behind the horn somewhere in South Dakota, 400,000 likes, top comment, "This is why I love this country." Nobody shows you the other videos, the ones that end in a helicopter, because those get taken down out of respect. The internet quietly deletes the endings and calls what is left the odds. Gary called their daughter Melissa from outside the shower house, and the recording of that call does not exist anywhere except in his memory. But he told me the shape of it later in a room neither of us wanted to be in. He told her, "Your mother is doing the thing she does," and Melissa laughed because from 2,000 miles away, the thing her mother does was charming. It had always been charming. The woman marched into school board meetings and got the crosswalk repainted. The woman talked her way into the good seats. 40 years of evidence said the world bends when Pam pushes it, and every piece of that evidence was collected in places with managers to ask for. That is the resume she carried into a valley that has never once taken a meeting. If you are waiting for the part where somebody stages an intervention, so was Gary. But there is no mechanism for that. We cannot arrest a person for being about to make a mistake. We warned her twice, we cited her once, and the law had done everything the law does before the worst moment instead of after it. Day 3 arrived the way trouble always arrives in my line of work, disguised as the best morning of the trip. Hayden Valley at golden hour is the kind of beautiful that gets in your blood and shuts your brain off. Mist coming up off the Yellowstone River, sandhill cranes calling somewhere in it, and the big herds spread across the grass like the last 10,000 years never happened. Pam and Gary were parked at a pullout south of Sulphur Cauldron by 6 in the morning, and for a while, everything went the way the brochure promises. They drank coffee on the hood. They watched a herd of maybe 60 animals graze its slow way toward the road. Gary took a picture of Pam with the valley behind her, and in that photo, the one the investigators would later scroll past, she is standing exactly where she should be, next to the truck, 30 yards from the nearest animal, doing everything right. Then the herd crossed the road and one bull did not cross with it. He planted himself in the sage between the pullout and the river, close enough that Pam's phone finally made him look the way he looked in her imagination. Huge, cinematic, hers. The live stream came on at 6:51. You can hear Gary say her name once, quietly, the way you say it when you have already lost the argument. You can hear her narrating as she walks, "Watch this, he knows me. We're friends." The grass hissing against her leggings, 40 followers, becoming 400, becoming 4,000. As the distance became 20 feet, then 15, then 10, the bull kept grazing. The tail came up at 7 minutes past 7. On the recording, you can see it happen, plain as a flag going up a pole, and you can see that Pam never looks at it. She is looking at herself in the corner of her screen. She is fixing her hair. She reached out her hand to touch the fur on his hump, the way you would pet a horse, and the last calm frame of that video is her fingers, 6 inches away, and a caption someone in the chat had just typed asking if this was safe. It took less than 1 second. I have watched the footage more times than I will ever admit, frame by frame, in a training room with new rangers who need to understand what we are actually asking of them out there. And even slowed down, it barely makes sense to the eye. The bull pivoted his hindquarters, dropped his head, and swept upward, and Pam was simply no longer where the world had her a heartbeat before. Bison do not trample first. They hook and they launch. She went higher than the roof of a car, and Hayden Valley is not soft the way lawns are soft. Gary was there in 11 seconds. The first ranger unit was there in 6 minutes. The helicopter out of the park flew her south while the sun was still low enough to make the river look like a sheet of brass, and I am going to give her the privacy on this channel that the internet never gave her in life. She was pronounced at the hospital that afternoon. She was 58 years old. The bull moved off within a minute, went back to grazing within 5, and was never located for any action because there was no action to take. He did not break a single law of his own world. He enforced one of ours. Gary sat in our district office that afternoon with a cup of coffee he never drank, and he asked me the question the survivors always ask, in the exact words they always use. He asked me why we let people get so close. I have an answer to that question, and I hate it, so I gave it to him anyway. Yellowstone is not a zoo. It is 2.2 million acres of the world the way the world was, and the deal at the gate has never changed since 1872. You are allowed in, and in exchange, nothing in here is padded for you. We post the numbers. We hand out the flyer with the cartoon of a person flying through the air, and people laugh at that cartoon, Gary. They photograph it. It has its own merchandise. We built the only kind of fence a wild place can honestly have, which is a fence made of information. And a fence made of information only works on people who believe things can happen to them. The German visitor, the one from the boardwalk the day before, gave his statement and then asked, very quietly, whether the video he filmed had made it worse. Whether all of it, the filming, the watching, the sharing, was part of the machine that put her in that grass. I did not have an answer for him then. I have half of one now, and it is why this channel exists at all. The watching is not the problem. The watching without the ending is the problem. So consider this the ending, attached at last to every airy clip of somebody's outstretched hand. Investigators did what investigators do. They pulled the stream, they interviewed witnesses, they measured the distance from the pullout to the flattened ring of grass, 104 feet from the truck she was safe beside, and the file says what these files always say. Visitor approached wildlife. And if this were a rare file, this would be a different channel. In the summer of 2022, this park saw 3 separate goring incidents in a matter of weeks, none of them involving people who woke up reckless. A man walking with his family on a boardwalk, a woman from Ohio who got within 10 feet. Decades of records tell the same story on a loop, and the oldest rangers here still talk about the years in the 80s when petting bison for photographs was practically a visitor tradition, and the emergency room in Mammoth had a season rhythm to it, and a man died near Fountain Flat for a picture his family did not need. Every one of them had a reason to believe they were the exception. Every reason fit in a phone. And the animal at the center of all of it deserves one honest minute before I let you go, because the bison is not a prop in these files. He is the whole reason the files exist. There were somewhere near 30 million of them on this continent once, and by the winter of 1902, poaching had carved the wild herd in this park down to about 24 animals hiding in the Pelican Valley snow. 24. Every bison you will ever stop your car for in Yellowstone descends from that handful and from a rescue effort that took a century, which means the animal in your viewfinder is simultaneously the most American thing you will ever photograph and the closest call this country's wildlife ever had. We did not save them to be petted. We saved them to be exactly what they are, which is the largest land animal on this continent, wrapped in a winter coat so good that snow sits on their backs without melting, walking around with a skull built for hitting other bison at full speed. In August, in the rut, the bulls run on hormones and no sleep and hit each other hard enough that you can hear it across a valley like a door slamming in an empty house. The herd Pam walked into was 2 months from that season. She never saw them at their most dangerous. She died at their calmest. People ask me if I am angry at the Pams of the world, and the honest answer is no, not anymore. I am angry at the arithmetic they were handed, somewhere between the fences of home and the gates of this park. The math of attention got mixed into the math of survival, and one of those systems pays you instantly for getting closer, while the other one bills you once. At the end, all at once. 2,000 pounds, 35 miles an hour, 25 yards. Those numbers were nailed to posts and printed on the paper they hand you at the entrance gate with your receipt, and they lost, fair and square, to a heart icon that weighs nothing at all. So here is what I want to leave you with, because you are going to stand in that valley someday, or one like it, and something enormous and calm is going to look at you across a distance that a phone makes feel like nothing. The wildness of a wild animal is not a mood. It is not tameness taking a day off. It is the whole animal all the time wearing calm the way deep water wears flat. You cannot earn its friendship because it is not offering any. And the moment it corrects your mistake, it will be the most honest thing you have ever experienced. Stand behind the number on the sign. Let the animal be far away and real instead of close and fatal. The best wildlife photograph in the world is the one with a living photographer. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Doomed Departures and do one thing for me that costs nothing. The next time you are in a line of stopped cars while something ancient crosses the road and you see a door start to open, say something kind and say it early. That is the whole reason I keep telling you these stories. I am the ranger who took the radio call. You are the person who can still stay in the car. Stay with me, and on the next departure, I will take you to a canyon in southern Utah, where the sky 40 miles away decides who comes home, so that maybe for one of you, the warning finally lands in time.